you want a question? Because I don't have, first I want to start off with some comments, because whether we choose this site or another site, there's still this issue of this $11 million cost, this facility. When this project first came about, let me just back up. You know, I recognize at this point, obviously, we need a new public works facility. And I feel if you're going to build a new facility, build it better than what you had. But when this first came about, it was all to fill a need for a new firehouse. And at the time, it was originally talked about, the number was $17 million to do the two projects together. And they were going to be on a shared site originally. And after they did a feasibility study of different sites for the firehouse, they determined where Public Works is the best location for the firehouse. And at that time, they kept that number of $17 million out there as they went through this to obtain approvals and funding. And then at one point, we did get to a point where, okay, we did have a number out there, $8 million for when we separated it into about a year or so after we separated them. We came up with the number of $8 million for a public works facility. And then I think it was just about last year. And now you got to remember, a lot of these, when this number out there gets thrown out there, $8 million or even the $17 million, a lot of that is just the board, the finance director kind of keeping a placeholder so we can budget for our future expenditures. It's not set in stone. This is what, and anyone who knows Jim Finch knows he's very conservative, very cautious in his numbers. He's not looking at a number to come in lowball it and then have to explain when it comes in, you know, significantly higher like we are now. So then last year, it came up, he moved it up to $9 million. Now here we are up to $11 million, and actually, I strongly feel if we go with this site that you're recommending, it's going to be significantly higher than $11 million. You know, I think there needs to be a budget set in place, and you know, I've talked to you before about this. I know we've been beginning with this is at the firehouse, and before we actually go and now go see, you know, you're trying to sell us this project. And, you know, there was, I know many of you, I'm not going to speak for all of you, but many of you have said that are on this committee were not expecting to spend anywhere near this $11 million. I mean, when you had the RFP for different sites, many of you immediately rejected the Freightliner site because of its cost alone, the asking cost of $9.5 million. I mean, that was kind of like, we're not going to spend that. Now here we are, spending $1.5 million more, and not even questioning it. And we're trying to talk ourselves into spending this money. We have to realize that this project doesn't exist in a vacuum. Like, we have other projects. I mean, I know anytime we want to come, you know, we're trying to appropriate funds for a large expenditure like this, it's often brought up, well, it's going to mean this much more on the average homeowner and their taxes. Yeah, well, it's that much more, but also you got to, that's not the only increase they're going to have. They're going to have a budget increase. They're going to have to pay for a firehouse, possibly a senior center. Now they're talking about renovating intermediate school, a new Sliney school. I mean, we have to, from our perspective, we have to look at all the town as a whole. We can't just get tied into this one project and say, oh, this, you know, we can afford this one project. Yeah, we can afford $11 million, but combine it with everything else, right? You know, I really think, you know, there needs to be a budget set, a hard number, rather than, you know, come up with something, you know, and I'm not, you know, this is not questioning Weston Sampson's credentials at all, but, you know, you're selling a facility, you're selling a project. I mean, you know, and and the people involved in designing this U are those who are going to use it. And like I said, if you're going to build a new facility, build it better than they have. But you know, you all have to remember, back when this, like I said, this was to fill a need for a new firehouse. 18 months ago, there wasn't, not only was there not a need for a new public works, there wasn't even a want for a new public works. They wanted to stay right where they were.